Welcome to the Podcast Discovery Show, the podcast that's about other podcasts. I'm Kirk.
I'm Zach.
And we have a special guest this week.
Richie from Brands and Empires.
Thank you for coming again, Richie. We appreciate you being a host on the show with us.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to be here, guys.
This week, we are discussing the podcast called Proof that is done by America's Test Kitchen. And each week, they break down some food-related topic, and you're about to learn things that you did not know. And you're about to see things in a different way from this point on. And the episode we're discussing is called Prepping for the Worst. And it's about food preppers and long shelf life food storage.
But you also had a bonus discovery with them when that was what weird things did presidents eat? Sorry, it's hard for me to read. What weird things did presidents eat?
Yeah, and that was a bonus episode even on their feed.
Yeah, it was.
So it's kind of a little short one.
But then it kind of gives us like a full, almost hour of listening.
Yeah.
But I like both of them very much. Unfortunately, here we go again. It's one of those freaking shows that I'm going to have to put on my feed while I'm working out and while I'm working and while I'm driving. And I had to learn more about food.
Yeah,
I really like learning about food anyway. So now I found the podcast. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
dang it.
Yeah. No, it's pretty great. It sounds amazing. You know, it's very well produced.
Yeah, it really is.
But they dig into not just because when I first saw this podcast, I was like, okay, so what? They're gonna talk about here's the origin of the food, and they kind of do that, but they do it. It's almost like a history podcast sometimes where you're getting that kind of knowledge that takes you on the path so you see not just the like milestones and how this happened, but how they all fed into each other because they start with Y2K. They start with that being the foundation. And first of all, I don't know where you guys
I want to know
were at with this.
What happened to you guys during Y2K?
Exactly what they're talking about. We had cans of ham and like camping stoves and stuff in our garage.
What about you, Richie?
So my dad had a Northgate 38640. And
what is this?
This is like a $3,000 computer that had the capabilities of a TI-83. So the worst thing that happened to me in Y2K was I had QuickBooks 1992.
Uh-oh.
And all of my fake QuickBooks like documentation that I had set up over the course of 8 hours of fake graphing all of my income that I was planning out for the future was completely lost. And it was devastating.
It was speculated income.
So what I'm taking
it was projected income.
It was. I was preparing for my future life as a successful entrepreneur.
Okay.
Using QuickBooks 1992 on this DOS 3.0 system.
That's what I'm taking from this is that you were documenting your fake income.
And we went from 99 to 00, and I was 100 years out of date, just like that. My life ended.
Just like that.
And then I went to third grade.
No, but my dad did do some prepping stuff. He did. And I didn't get it at the time. I was just like, why is there so much camping gear in the closet in the garage? Like,
Do we need all of this ammunition?
Yeah, it's like, what's going on? I mean, that too. That definitely happened. There was guns and a lot of bullets. But I did not put the pieces together at all because we were
I knew what was going
young.
on, and the reason I knew what was going on is because we have a house, a hunting cabin in Alabama, and we went to stay up there with a lot of ammunition.
Oh, you went and stayed in Alabama?
Y'all legitimately prepped
We
for
went
this.
we didn't really prep. My dad was like, as long as we got bullets, we're good to go.
It's like I prepped one thing and it's guns.
You're like, we in the middle of nowhere and there's a bunch of deer. We're good to go. And I'm a farmer. I know how to do this.
Pre-modern prep culture too, so that's really interesting that he did that.
Yeah, so like we expected. I mean, I remember actually being a little bit like, I don't really know what Y2K is, but it's going to be bad.
No, people act
I remember thinking
people
that.
like, the global financial system is going to crash.
When they were playing like the news articles and stuff, I'm like, man, I would have believed some of this probably because this is on real. This isn't just this isn't on like the the fringes. This is on regular.
No, yeah, they were
This might happen.
they were freaking out that literally computers were going to fail. Like not a computer, but computers
Looking back,
were going
it
to
looks
fail.
so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, what
But
actually
the thing
ended
is,
up
looking
happening, though,
forward, it looks scary. That's the thing. It's
right,
like,
of course, hindsight's 2020. What ended up happening was Packard Bell, Hewlett Packard, all those other ones sold. What was the Cal one? The
Gateway.
Gateway. All of these companies sold a ton of computers out of cycle. If someone's normal upgrade cycle was 5 or 6 years, everybody was getting a Y2K safe computer. They oversold, and then all of these companies didn't sell jack crap for the next 2 years, and the ones that weren't flush ended up going under. So you
I
have
didn't even know that.
yeah, that's what I remember out of it. In reality, the preparation, my dad
This
was
is the guy that had QuickBooks at the age of 8.
Yeah, I was
it was
just
legitimately blue screen with white, you know what I mean?
What's the name of your business? What was the name of your fictitious business that you had on QuickBooks at the time?
remember. It wasn't Brandon Empires, I'll tell you that.
no, and I will also say
Richie's
that
Riches.
Richie, I hated that. My cousin called me Richie Rich, and I was like,
I will say that I was very excited, and it seems like I should have been scared, but like when Y2K was happening, I was like, oh, I'm gonna stay up. I'm gonna see if it goes nuts. I fell asleep. I slept through Y2K.
I mean, everybody thought that the rapture was going to happen. Remember,
I didn't realize that was a
I
part of
didn't
it
know that
too.
was-
Oh yeah,
thing.
the crazy people, the
I really
crazy
didn't know that was a
pastors, they had
thing.
like countdown watch parties. There was probably Kool-Aid involved. People were waiting to be raptured, and then it didn't happen.
If I'm ever
clue
at
about that.
a semi-religious event,
How
they
do
try and
you-
give me
y'all were older
Kool-Aid.
than I was. How do y'all not see any of this?
I
stuff?
don't remember that. I mean, I was in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, Kirk had no access to technology.
holding a gun,
I was
looking
asleep.
outside.
Like there's just limited options on what we were perceiving.
I do remember because my dad was in law enforcement at the time. So he was, let me see, golly, how old was I? don't even remember how old I was. I do remember though that everybody in Hillsborough County was on call. All of the law enforcement was on call just in case there was rioting or any number of things. They do that with natural disasters.
That
and he was
proves
like,
how
he might have had
serious
to
this
go in
actually
kind of thing.
was.
No,
Yeah.
people were scared, regardless of whether it was accurate or not. They were scared, and so I did have that same experience where I started seeing long shelf life foods appear in my house. I remember there was a can of ham that was like this big. I was like, "What is that? Like, where did you find a can of ham?"
Sugarberry ham?
I don't remember the brand name. I think it was Honey Baked Ham, actually. No,
Honey baked ham.
it was not.
Honey baked ham.
It was the bougie canned ham. Know that outright. It was just honey baked ham and saws and tents, and that's all we had. We were going to survive the apocalypse. But it's interesting that was
Not
kind of
1 gram of fiber
no.
to be seen.
So it's just everybody's going to have a bad time surviving in the apocalypse. You can eat some leaves outside or something, but that's it. It's just ham and leaves or grass. That's all you got. So basically, I remember that happening, and that is interesting that I never put together that was the beginning of like prepper culture. Well, not the true beginning, because then they go to the Latter-day Saints. The
I
Mormons
had no clue.
had been doing this for apparently a significant amount of time longer than this.
I had no
Early
clue
1900s.
that was like a part of their culture.
I did know that. I did
didn't.
know that. Well, it used to be like 3 years. They would have like a food cellar. It wasn't a little thing like, oh, I'm going to have a can of ham in the garage. It's like, I'm going to have a food cellar. My family will be able to survive for 3 years. But then it shifted. Now I think they say like a year, things like that. But that
No, it
was
started as a year, and now it's gone to 3 months.
I
That
got
came because they
reversed.
were persecuted in every state they tried to settle down in.
Yeah.
Until they got
Salt
John
Lake.
Smith got killed in Illinois,
somewhere in the Northeast.
right? And then they ended up moving west. So for them, it was very real. Food
Yeah,
for
no,
them,
it
food
really was.
safety and being able to feed yourself whenever you're on the run like that is,
No, and
is huge.
Okay, everybody has that grandmother that has 5 freezers in their house.
Do they though?
They do. Most people do. I do. Kirk does. A lot of people do. But if you look at it, they almost always grew up as the children of the Depression.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've talked
Absolutely.
about this in a recent episode. I remember my grandma. I mean, I barely remember my grandma, but I remember her garage. And I remember her random canned food that had like dates of like the 30s and 40s. And I'm like, why is this still here?
Yeah.
Grandma, even the
This is
botulism
so
died at this
old.
point. Yeah.
There's mold here.
Yeah.
It's like your preserved food has mold. Like, this needs to be thrown away. But she had gone through the depression, and it was just like, hey, if we've got to eat that moldy food to survive,
We will.
I'm not throwing it away.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I thought was a hilarious takeaway from the Mormon prepping. When they were talking about this in the podcast, they were interviewing people who were the children of these original Mormon preppers. And one of the guys was talking about how they knew that there was just a stupid amount of wheat, and wheat was the grain of choice for a lot of these people. And they said it wasn't until the people had sold the house and the buyer bought the house from them and then tried to knock down one of the walls that they realized that it was a false wall with stairs and everything was made of buckets of wheat that were
Yeah.
50,
Instead
60
of-
years old at this point.
Instead of insulation, they just like, hey, there's hollow walls. Let's pour wheat in here.
It's like, that's kind of the same as insulation, right? We just
Owens
put wheat.
Corning has nothing on these people.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
It's,
can't eat fiberglass.
honestly, I do appreciate
I do.
the dedication to it.
It's kind of
And-
goofy, but I get it.
No, and they also talked about, I can't remember her name now, and I feel bad, but there was someone.
Esther?
Esther? So the one who
I don't
used
remember her
wheat,
last name, but it was
100 recipes.
Esther.
she used wheat to make everything.
She had 100 recipes from 4 ingredients.
Well, okay, let me see if I can remember it. It was wheat, honey, salt.
Powdered milk.
They were on the list.
Yeah,
That's
it's,
hilarious.
it's
I'm trying
right.
to
Yeah,
remember it.
it's right there.
Right in
I
front
was,
of you.
I was literally unfolding my fingers right into the list. Okay, well, I had it. Yeah.
No, but
You can edit that out.
No,
Put
but
the- put the
it
time code
really
down.
is incredible because she would like make meat substitutes and like
Yeah, it was funny because she
gluten
said
sausages.
they talked about how her family was like the test kitchen for some of this stuff.
I'm sure they hated some of it.
And I think one of her kids was like, yeah, one year she made gluten, what was it?
Drumsticks.
Yeah.
For Thanksgiving. Could you imagine looking forward to Thanksgiving and then you get gluten, like
I don't-
fake gluten drumsticks?
How
I'm focusing on my macros.
I don't even know what that even means.
I don't know
doesn't
what that,
sound
don't.
good.
I don't know what that means either because gluten is like in bread, but what does it mean
I
to
think
be a
of bread
gluten?
drumsticks.
Yeah.
is what I
It's
think
like
of.
a glue-like protein. So, I mean, and she probably didn't deep fry it. She probably baked it. Or
No, but what I'm saying is like you have to build up gluten to make a loaf of bread. So like was it just like a drumstick shaped piece of bread?
And what was the bone made out of? More gluten?
She probably took real chicken bones and was like, hey, I'm
Just
gonna trick 'em. I'm
a
gonna trick them.
Yeah, it's like I'm gonna ruin this roll by sticking a bone in it for no reason. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But
Wasn't pleasant sounding.
in general, the entire premise of finding 4 very accessible ingredients and finding ways to stretch that beyond what this like beyond the sum of their parts and find ways to make that so that that's a quality of life thing. Because yeah, you could just eat wheat. You know, that's been done for a long time. You heat it up. It's oatmeal,
Boil
it's
it, you
millet,
grind it,
whatever.
yeah,
You know,
it's
you just eat it. It's food. This is that next level where it's like, we're not just going to eat this. We're going to eat this elevated, you know? And so there was some element of the ingenuity
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the
they took
dedication to it.
4 ingredients and made over 100 recipes out of it.
Yeah. So
Like
just,
different ways. I mean, it was just, and they named them, and not all of them sounded horrible, like the gluten drumsticks. Some of them sounded pretty good.
I thought that was kind of interesting too, because the way they portrayed a lot of the preppers is the militarized doomsday bunker type building preppers.
a lot of
that
times
are-
it does go hand in hand.
absolutely, but they said that Esther wasn't like that. It was all for her.
Oh,
it
she was actively against that. Like,
Right.
You don't go there.
She wanted to help other people. She wanted to help her neighbors. She wanted to give people hope.
I think in a way, I kind of feel like that's the good thing with prepping is like, we live in Florida, so we experience hurricanes.
And earthquakes, apparently.
Huh?
And now earthquakes, apparently.
What?
Wait, what?
Y'all didn't hear about that?
No.
Oh,
My
well,
wife told me about it. There was someone in
My wife. It's been
told
too
me-
long since we did that. Go ahead.
There was an earthquake. The epicenter was down in the Caribbean somewhere, but it was such a strong earthquake that in Miami it was registering over a 6 or
Ooh.
7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
We don't have earthquakes in Florida.
No.
Like, that's not a thing.
No, we don't. I don't think we're on like a fault line.
We,
Like,
we
there's
have
nothing.
gators. We have Florida man. We have mosquitoes.
hurricanes.
Hurricanes. We have all that jazz.
We have-
California has earthquake. Apparently now we have it too.
I did not know that. That's crazy.
My
though.
wife told me.
Move
that.
down to Florida.
I didn't believe it. I'm like, there's no way. I mean,
This message was
Whatever.
brought to you by Discover Florida. We now have earthquakes. Enjoy.
Something that came to my mind while you think about what you were thinking about is Esther, with all of her 100 recipes, she couldn't have seen the oncoming collapse of the bee population due to Monsanto.
She could not. I agree with
And
you.
unfortunately, that limits the amount of local honey that you could source in the event of a doomsday prepping situation.
That's accurate.
And Epstein didn't kill himself.
so the thing that Esther was kind of like preaching, and the thing that I think that's really cool, and like I said, we live in a place that has hurricanes and stuff like that, is that if there ever is any sort of emergency, you have something to fall back on, but also you have something to help your neighbors with. So it's not really a bad thing if you have some sort of, even if it's a somewhat small stockpile.
Yeah.
Because even like hurricanes, I mean, let's be honest. How long are you going to be out of electricity? Not very long.
No, I mean, you were out for 2 weeks, though.
In our lifetime, we've been out. It was only like 1 week. It felt longer.
It was
but
only a
the
week?
max, I think it was like 7 days.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you had a really bad one there one time.
And I mean, we lived in the quote unquote country, so I kind of get some people that live even further rural is probably even worse.
yeah.
But we kind of lived in an area that it was like the last place to get fixed on the grid because we were on the outskirts. But I mean, we were fine. We were completely fine. And
It's just really hot.
that's the thing in Florida. The thing in Florida is hurricane season isn't hot season. So it's more like, I'm uncomfortable, dang it. Dang it, I'm uncomfortable. It's hot. It's warm.
Yeah.
I need to open all my
It's-
windows and have a million fans, but I don't have electricity.
Yeah, as soon as I don't have a
Fans
ceiling
on.
fan, it's like, feels stuffy.
But the thing is with prepping, I know it sounds kind of goofy, but at the same time, you've got something to fall back on in any case of emergency. And then you've also got the means to be able to help your neighbors. And that was something that was cool that they talked about with the Mormon church and stuff like that.
Yeah, her
They were able
ethos
to
is
do.
Esther seems amazing in general. A lot of things about her seem amazing, and honestly, I think it's fine to have long shelf life food. That seems like a smart decision. It's more just, I'm sure. Have you guys seen is it called Doomsday Preppers? The
Yes,
show.
I was just thinking about that.
That's a different thing.
Yeah,
They're
that
like,
is a different
I need
thing.
a tank. And I need to
Yeah, that's not
build
what
a
I'm
bunker.
saying.
Like, yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying is some of these things, it blends. She is different than what is on Doomsday
we're
Preppers.
focusing on food.
Yeah.
And that's a whole different.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the doomsday
Conversation.
preppers, or just preppers in general, they're people who lean towards paranoia.
Yeah, I would say that's fair because usually they have even on the end of that show they'll be like, "What do you think is going to happen to you?" And it's like,
The percentage of this happening is 1.0%.
Yeah, they've got it all planned out, and everybody's got a different scenario. It's a meteor. It's
a volcano.
Yeah,
it's a
global
solar flare off the sun EMPs the world.
Right.
They all have some and it's usually
super specific.
It's
thing
very
they're prepping
specific,
for.
yeah.
If anything happens differently, they're totally
it's like,
screwed.
oh, the
we're
EMP
done.
didn't happen. Oh yeah, we're dead.
Right, we did not prep for that.
It's like we prepped for one thing.
Did such a good job though, because
They did.
that makes it intriguing.
There was one though that what I thought was hilarious. Well, it was hilarious, but it was terrible at the same time. This guy had it was an algae farm of all things in his swimming pool. Did you see this one?
Yeah.
he was
think I
growing
did.
just like
Is
hundreds
this the same
of
guy
pounds.
that had a helicopter?
I don't know, but he had like boatloads of algae, and he was growing this very specific type of fish, and he fed the
Oh, no, I didn't
fish
see this
the
one.
algae, and like you could eat the algae and you could eat the
Yeah,
fish.
it's a duckweed, right? The top of
Something,
algae.
yes.
Yeah.
And they ate so much of it. Like that was all they ate because it was producing just like tons and tons of it and they couldn't do anything with it. And his entire family had these black bags under their eyes. They were super malnourished because they're only eating fish and algae out of their like house pond. It was a nightmare scenario.
So
I'm like,
this
somebody's
is what
got to
we'll look
step
like
in.
if there's an emergency.
We've been doing this for 5 years and we're fine.
His plan was
His kid's
detrimental
teeth
to
are
his
falling
family.
out. It's like what's going on?
No,
here?
and it's not fair to lump these people together. You know, it's not. Because, like, Esther seems amazing. Like I said, I don't see how there's an issue with
And they mentioned, like, let's say you lose your job and you don't have the money to buy food.
if you have a can of Beanie
If you got
Weenies,
a-
you're set.
If you got a year's worth of food in your root cellar, you're good to go for a while.
Yeah, you see
They did talk
That's your
about
necessity. You know,
potatoes.
all you got to pay is your electric bill.
Yeah.
that. If you don't
you're-
have money for food, you don't have money for your electric bill.
No. What I'm saying is,
You can go mow lawns for that or something. Like, you just, that's your one thing you have to, your
It goes
monthly nut.
electricity, cable, beer, cigarettes, diapers, food.
okay, I don't know where you got this.
I like how beer and
Pyramid.
cigarettes are above
We
food.
are in Florida.
Do beer and cigarettes not count as food?
Beer
I
and
thought they-
cigarette.
Point taken. I get it.
But yeah, then they move from the kind of the prepper side to what the military has done to influence the types of food that are available for preppers. So the thing that really blew my mind is they then transitioned to how World War II and the Combat Feeding Directorate and the military have shaped the types of long shelf life foods
Blew my
that are
mind.
available.
Blew my mind.
Apparently, they were not only providing food for the military, but pushing, it's not exactly preserving. It kind of is, but not in the traditional sense, because we always think of preservatives as chemical additives that
Extend the shelf life.
artificially extend the time that it's good. But this is, they're trying to find ways that they can have their
And it's
rules.
funny. It's because our government specifically is making sure that it's preservative free for our military.
But don't worry about,
I got that.
don't worry
I
about,
definitely
don't worry
picked
about the
that up.
children. Like, it's fine.
I picked that up while I was at Publix buying pizza rolls.
Chemical infused pepperoni.
I had a existential crisis in the aisle of Publix today because I'm like listening to this and they're like, oh no, we don't put preservatives because it's our military. And I'm like, I'm buying pizza rolls.
What
today.
what am I doing about babies?
That totally stood out to me too, because they were talking about like there had been huge leaps and bounds in technology when it came to shelf stable foods, the center of the supermarket that had started to develop, and even as early as the 30s and 40s. But they said that the military research branch, that wasn't enough. The existing technologies of the day weren't enough to survive desert or the cold.
Well, their rules are extreme. 3 years at 80. That is
80 degrees Fahrenheit,
Yeah, 80
yeah.
degrees Fahrenheit. That's the rule for, or it's their goal is probably, but it is also a rule that it must be able to survive like that because they just ship it out.
And it has to maintain maximum amounts of nutritional value.
And all of these things were not what I was picturing when I was picturing like military rations. I was thinking it's like they just give them something to keep them alive. But this is beyond that. It's far beyond that.
To be fair, I would say even up into the last 5 or 10 years, MREs were pretty rough.
Yeah, I think that they probably have elevated it again to the point of like, let's make this so it's not something they're like, oh, I'll live, but something where they can eat, because we've talked about a lot on the show before where there's a lot of community and a lot of cultural, I guess just community is probably the best word for it, where just you feel that connection to people when you're eating, and you feel a connection to almost like humanity when you're eating, and just there's something to it. And so to lose that entirely for an entire deployment overseas would be damaging, maybe. So
Morale is an important factor. is what you're saying.
them making it so that they are not just surviving, but able to eat something that tastes good, it probably does have an impact. But there was a lot of foods, like I had no idea that M&Ms were created by
No clue.
the military. Makes sense because they melt in your mouth, not in your hand.
They were produced exclusively for the military for the
I had no
duration of
clue.
World War II. Yeah,
I had no.
they were
clue.
still made by Mars.
But still,
It's like Disney making propaganda for the military with Donald Duck.
I thought you were
flying,
going to say,
Was that a
against
recruitment
Nazis.
thing?
I thought you were going to say Doritos.
Were Doritos military
Disney.
exclusive?
No, they were made by Disney.
I feel like Pringles were. What? Were they really?
Yeah, it was
Nuh-uh.
stale tortilla chips, right? Or no, it wasn't Disney.
Was it Disney?
It was somebody else, but it was literally they found that they could turn stale tortillas into deliciousness by putting a bunch of powder on it. Done. That's all it
I
takes.
do remember that. I don't remember who it was. Frito?
But it started with stale Mexican corn chips and cocaine.
Not even chips. Yeah,
Wait,
I mean,
where did the cocaine come from?
he just said
mean-
throw a bunch of powder on it.
no, I'm talking
like-
orange powder, cheese cocaine.
I mean, that's American cocaine.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
Diabetes.
Not Colombian cocaine. American cocaine, which is
it's Dorito dust.
Dorito dust.
Y'all will lose your monetization with the word cocaine.
Yeah. No, that's probably going to get cut.
Wait,
No,
what
don't do that.
monetization? What's monetization?
Yeah, I mean,
Don't
we-
worry about it. Don't cut that. This is too good. That back and forth was good.
Okay.
Okay, I did want to talk about the pouches because that blew my mind because they talked about tuna being in cans,
Big tuna.
or if you think about it, you go to the store and you see tuna in other packages. What are the packages?
Retort pouches.
Basically, in envelopes made out of metal envelopes.
No, they're plastic.
Are they not metal?
I don't think they're metal.
No, they're totally
They
plastic.
mentioned they were like, okay,
They were comparing it to the metal cans that require a higher heat for longer.
maybe that's what.
No,
it is.
I mean, first of all, I'm right there with you
You
on
can cut
this.
that part.
I've seen these pouches of tuna.
Me too. I didn't realize they tasted better.
Yeah, I didn't realize the reason.
that's what I wanted to talk about because
So say that again. Yeah.
So they talked about how these pouches, because of the way that it's the same amount of tuna, but in a smaller, I guess it's more spread out with
Yeah, more
pouch.
surface area.
Yeah. So they're able to get the tuna to a certain temperature in a shorter amount of time. So it's not affecting
The flavor as much.
The flavor as much. So anything that's in a pouch,
It's going to taste better.
it's going to taste better.
I would
more
not, I'll put an
original.
asterisk on that. Definitely, anything in a pouch is going to taste better.
Capri Sun. I don't know what else is in a pouch. There's limited things.
First of all, not a whole lot of food comes in a pouch. but
Go-Gurt. What comes in a pouch? I don't even know.
I am sure there is pouch laden food that is just trash.
See, now I'm going to go search for all the pouches. I'm only going to buy it if it's in a pouch.
If
Then
there
you will end up with a pouch. Like,
if there's not a segment called Pouch Watch next week on Todd's, I'm going to be so mad.
a paunch. Go on.
Punch watch.
Pouch Watch. And every week there's a selfie of Kirk and he's just like, here, check this out.
No thanks.
It's Fupa Friday. Like,
Honestly, I would sub to that.
You would sub to my Fupa Friday.
Not
Thank you.
yours.
Thank you, Zach.
Not yours.
I am
Anybody
flattered.
else's.
now we know it's king.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. That's my entire Google search history.
It was.
I thought it was interesting. Dang it. Was it not?
I'm
It was
messing with
interesting.
you.
It was a
I'm messing
unique
with
way
you.
to lead into it.
Because I never thought of, I think of pouches as just being like garbage food. Even worse than canned food.
Well, I didn't realize why they would differentiate. Like, because everybody's cans, and then there's like 5 options for in a pouch tuna, and I never knew why they did it.
I had no clue. Because I don't even, I guess I don't really think about what needs to be done to almost pasteurize the tuna
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah, and I mean that is why people.
heat,
okay, no,
basically.
but this is why people prefer the frozen vegetables over canned because of
right,
that
because
same
there's
principle.
been no heat applied
Yeah.
over time. You're not
talk
losing
about this
nutritional
actually on
value.
the show.
No, I mean we were.
Well, I had already written an edit because of the fupas. So
Yeah,
many
no, but I'm saying
fupas.
we were, and then you just killed
Now
it.
we got to edit that out too. Rip it and turn.
Okay, so write a number.
No,
Just pick another number out of your.
let's get back into it.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're gonna have to restart.
All right.
Did you write the number down?
No, I wrote the edit number. So I'm the editor. I get it.
So I thought it was interesting on that whole topic of retort pouches. Moving on to the pepperoni pizza, they were talking about how much technology had to be developed around creating a pepperoni pizza because you have dry bread, you have wet marinara sauce, you have cheeses, and all of these things can't have moisture migration. They can't have a flavor blending, and things that you wouldn't
And
even
this
think
is
about.
the thing the military's asked for.
And for
One of
20
multiple
years?
requests, right? But it took 20 years for them to get to the point where they could create apparently a passable pepperoni pizza. Now I've had Lunchables pepperoni pizza, and it's trash. I mean,
Such trash.
it's not
super
good.
bad.
Yeah,
It was
them even calling
cracker with pepperoni. It
Yeah.
was bad.
You can't just throw pepperoni and raw cheese on a cracker and tell me it's a pizza.
I mean,
But apparently-
them kids are just squirting that marinara sauce in their mouth and then throwing a bunch of cheese in there. I mean, that's what I did.
that's definitely what savage kids do.
I mean, I guess I was a savage kid. I'm not gonna eat that dry cracker.
Total mad lad.
It was gross.
No, it's I agree with you. Those Lunchables are terrible.
They were. But apparently the military's developed a passable pepperoni pizza that is shelf stable for 3 years. I don't want to know what they did to keep the bread dry and the marinara wet for 3 years.
I don't
It's
know.
probably like ice cream that doesn't melt.
I kind of do want to know though. How?
I do,
Just
but
please
I
tell
don't,
me, military.
you know?
Yeah.
That brought us to our last piece on this, which was the vacuum microwave. And they were talking to kind of like one of the, what would he be? He
was-
kind of a researcher.
He was like a
essentially.
Mr. Miyagi of the food research world.
Yeah, no, he seemed like a scientist.
Yeah.
He was beyond just, okay, here, just try out this food. He was talking about the science behind it.
I want a vacuum microwave right now.
Yeah,
I think that's probably out of the price range of
I
most
agree.
normal Americans.
But the
I've got
premise,
a vacuum. I've got a microwave. Why is that in my price range?
I mean, you can hook your shop back up to your microwave. I don't think it's going to do what you think it's going to do.
Florida man.
Yeah. No, but the entire premise of establishing a vacuum so you have to heat even less, it's taking the retort pouch
I
to
didn't
the
know
next
that-
level.
Actually, I didn't know that was a thing
Yeah.
until listening to this.
No, I mean,
vacuum microwave or retort
well,
pouch?
no, like both.
Yeah.
but the fact that like if you're if you're microwaving something that's in a vacuumed chamber, it takes like not even half the amount of energy to do so.
yeah.
They talked about like I don't
They're
remember.
boiling it off at like
Yeah.
80 to 100 degrees
Yeah,
Fahrenheit.
it was like half the temperature that you needed to boil water if it was in a vacuum environment.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see micro changes like that by literally, if you are cooking in Denver, your
192 is
temperatures,
boiling
your
rate or something,
temperatures and your times are different because of just altitude change.
Even that blows my mind. I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around
Can you
that.
imagine how much macaroni and cheese you would ruin in Denver, Colorado? Just trying to get your mind around it.
Just burn it.
Just ruined.
Easy Mac becomes hard Mac.
Takes rocket surgery to microwave vacuum boil your MREs.
No, but it sounds like they've stumbled onto something significant here because it sounds.
what-
I've never heard of this
They
before.
talked about how he took a cheesecake that normally lasts for 2 weeks.
He was super proud of that cheesecake too.
Yeah. He's like, this is the thing. This is the thing is the cheesecake. The cheesecake is the thing. It normally lasts 2 weeks. And now because of the vacuum microwave, it can last 3 years. And that is a big jump, my friend.
Yeah,
That's a
and I
big
mean,
jump.
first of all, that's one that I would want to try. Although, okay, I'll say this: cheesecake in some varieties already dry your mouth out. It's kind of like a
You got to have the sauce to go on top, right?
marinara sauce, right?
Yeah, marinara sauce.
No, but like in some situations, it's already kind of
Strawberry
like
sauce.
in some situations, it's already like kind of cloying. But I feel like dehydrated cheesecake is next level of just how dry is that thing. I want to try it. I have
I'm
faith.
not okay. So hold on. I'm not sure that the point was for it to become freeze dried. That wasn't like that.
No, but it's a
texture.
dehydrator too, right?
It can be a dehydrator. I thought that the significance of this was you keep the nutritional value, you keep the flavor because
Yeah, definitely
you're
that.
low
Low
temperature
temp, yeah.
curing the meat, the whatever it is. So the cheesecake would probably become cooked and sterilized, and then it would be packaged with all of its original nutritional value and flavor intact for 3 years without becoming
It's
dehydrated.
almost like the new freeze dry.
I mean, honestly,
right, without changing the texture or content of it.
I want what you're saying to be true. I want to try one of these things.
I
want to try a
heard what
slice of
Mr. Miyagi
cheesecake.
was inferring between the lines.
No, and I mean, I
Here's
want
the
to
thing,
try
you-
it.
You heard it first. Pretty soon, you're going to have a vacuum microwave.
Don't take our word for it.
I don't think. I think that
It's the
pretty soon.
Roomba Hamilton.
I would say that pretty soon our food is going to be produced by vacuum microwaves because they can make they can make better food at the grocery store.
Artificially
that way.
intelligent vacuum microwave people.
It's the future's now. The future is
Okay,
now.
wait. Artificially intelligent vacuum microwave people. That's what you just said.
The people.
I
there
saw
was
that
a
movie
comma
with Bruce
before-
Willis.
There was a comma before people.
I did not put a comma before
There was
people.
no comma
It was quite literally a
Oh.
5-word descriptive.
Okay. Well, that's what's happening. Future is now.
Your jobs will be replaced by those.
So
Go ahead with your bonus episode.
So yeah, then we went to the bonus episode, and it was I just saw this one that was called "What Weird Things Did the Presidents Eat?" and I was curious, and I was not disappointed. Honestly, there was a lot of weird things they ate, and they start out with Thomas Jefferson.
So
who-
we talked about this a little bit last time that we were together, which was when you pitched this episode, which is about Thomas Jefferson eating
I think I talked about this one, right?
bread
The
and
loaf.
wine.
I did bring up
The
the,
loaf.
bread
wine
and
bread
wine
bowl.
and mac and cheese at the same time in a bowl of goodness. Or
Still-
nastiness.
still-
Not goodness.
No, I think the
don't know.
texture would kill me on
No,
this
no.
one.
I think there's something there. there.
Okay, so tell us what it was. Explain to
Okay,
us what
so
it was.
his I'm trying to remember. Okay, so it was wine that was soaked into like a loaf of bread.
Mm-hmm.
So the bread would break down.
And the baguette.
Yeah, the baguette. Sure, I didn't. I'm very sorry, Kirk. Yes, it was a baguette, and so it soaks down, and then it turns into like mush, and then you add cheese. I don't think they had any meat to it.
Parmesan.
No, there was more carbs because they said it was carbs and carbs, and the wine
Did they
had
have
carbs,
noodles?
the bread had carbs.
Yeah, well,
the
because of
noodles.
the mac and cheese
were put
So
into
yeah,
it.
they put noodles on top of the wine bread mush, and then they put Parmesan, which is apparently very exclusive at the time and very expensive. So wine bread mush, macaroni, Parmesan, eat it.
To me, it struck me like if you pumped the stomach of a really hammered drunk guy at 4 a.m. and
They
put it
even
on a
mentioned
plate, it
this.
was this.
They even mentioned this. It's like the best morning after meal
I could see that,
and the worst.
but it feels like the texture would be like
Because it seems like
oatmeal with noodles in
it
it.
also seems like the
Don't
vomit
ruin
that would
foods
come
I
from
like.
the-
I don't know. I feel like this is one of those things that you have to just eat it and just trust the process and
Just trust the process.
like just
personally
I feel like Elvis did that and he died on a toilet
he
somewhere.
did. He did. But I don't know. The combo sounds weird.
Okay.
So
I
that
personally think it would probably taste amazing. Doesn't sound good, but I feel like it's one of those things that would probably taste great.
I feel like if you're already drunk, you could probably stomach it. I don't know. It seems weird.
Back then, you know what? Their standards were lower and they probably didn't have much else to do other than be drunk.
Yeah, I don't even know.
Why are you
But then
stifling a laugh, Kirk. What's going on?
But yeah, then we had some presidents who tried. Okay, there was one who ate something called ortolan.
What was ortolan?
It's a little songbird that they would fry up and then just
That even God doesn't want you to eat.
yeah. Okay,
That's right. No, this okay. Post-revolution, post-French Revolution. This was like the do not eat pure representation of being like rich aristocracy evil, right?
yeah.
This was it. This was the thing.
And they would cover their face with a napkin while they
So
ate
that
it.
God could not see them eat it. They're eating a tiny bird. They're eating a baby bird.
It didn't seem like that.
Let's be honest.
It does
They're
seem
eating a baby
extreme.
bird.
It seems extreme, but the fact that they felt that bad about it and still did it
Who did
says
this?
something.
Who did this?
Fancy boys.
Fancy boys.
They did this in
What president did
super
this?
bougie restaurants,
Johnson.
though.
Yeah,
Andrew
So,
Johnson.
That's right. Super early president.
Yeah.
that guy was president. No, that's the thing is everyone was like, who? It was the guy that took the place of Abraham Lincoln when he was assassinated. He wasn't.
He was not elected. Yeah.
So that was the kind of the weird, goofy thing about that.
But yeah, here's my thing is the fact that they felt like they needed to cover their face so God couldn't see them, but they still did it. You see what I'm saying?
These were like the Freemason, early
Sure.
Illuminati type people.
there was a lot of like
there was a lot of ritualistic.
symbolism and yeah,
Right, yeah.
There was, but still, like that's extreme to be like, I don't want God to see me do this, but I'm going to do it because it tastes good. Like
And if you know, like a little thin napkin's going to block God's sight, then you know,
I don't
come
know.
on.
Just
God, you serve him.
yeah, just kind of a weird thing, you know. And then we had I'm guessing Taylor is Zachary Taylor.
It was Zach. Zach, you did this?
Good old Zach Taylor.
Zach, you ate turtle?
No, I did not eat turtle. I haven't ever had turtle.
I haven't either. I've had some of these things.
I
on the
feel
list.
like I've
Have you had
sea
ortolan?
turtle. I feel like
I
I've had
haven't.
sea turtle.
You've had turtle?
Yes, I've had not ortolan. I don't know. I've had pheasant, quail, something, whatever there's a tiny bird.
Oh, quail.
I
Yeah.
think it was quail.
You said you ate turtle?
Sea turtle, I believe.
Okay.
I do need to know the context of where you think you ate it.
And why do you just believe you ate sea turtle? What else could it have been?
I was under the impression that it was sea turtle. But,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
for all I know, it could have been imitation crab meat because what do I know?
Where was that at?
It was at a like a fish fry.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, they had the frog legs, and they had like the different.
Was it like a wild game cookout, but like for seafood?
yeah, everybody who had like been on hunts or done different
Ah.
things, they kind of empty their
No, we've
deep
done
freezers
We've
out
done
with all this stuff,
We've
yeah.
done on a wild game cookout.
you bread
kind
it,
of
you
thing.
fry it, different
Yeah,
types of meat
everything
get in
tastes the
there.
same.
You don't know what's what.
If it's fried, it all tastes.
Dude,
the
we'll
same.
let you know
Let's
when the
be
Wild
honest.
Game Cookout's coming up.
Yeah.
It's fun. You should
Jethro's
go.
grandma might have made it in there. You don't know. Yeah, everything's got breading on it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had turtle. I remember I was told that I had shark before.
Pretty much anybody who's eaten tuna has had shark and dolphin.
I didn't know that.
And I've also heard that a lot of people who are eating shark fin were actually eating stingray.
Well, dang it!
It's one of those things that
Probably
they're going
pretty similar.
They're going to get you. They're going to make you think you're eating what you want to eat.
So whatever you're paying for, they're gonna give you the one step below and then charge you.
not even necessarily a step below. Sometimes they just come out of left field.
Oh, you want another one? Wasabi,
Not
horseradish.
wasabi, it's horseradish. Yeah,
that
wasabi
one's
oxidizes
easy.
super fast. Yeah, so
They're if you're in America, you've hardly ever had wasabi.
No, it's
same
horseradish.
thing goes with Wagyu beef, Kobe and Wagyu beef.
Well, yeah, that makes sense too. That's
The vast
It's
they're
monkey meat.
allowed to say pretty much whatever they want.
monkey meat.
Monkey meat.
And then the last note we have here is that President Polk tried bear meat. I would be a little sketched out about bear in general.
So
Bad bear.
I have a question. I want to know what of these would you try or have tried, and what would you not? I've tried bear meat.
I mean, I would
I've had bear
I would
meat.
honestly
You said you've had bear meat?
Yeah, bear
I would honestly probably try them
How
all.
did you have bear meat?
I can't talk about that. It was illegally shot. So.
All right. Well, I had bear meat, and it was like in a roast. It tasted just like beef. It tasted just like a roast beef.
Honestly,
Not even a
as
little bit
Right
different.
when it's cooked down, it's not.
okay, were the
It's
ortolan
gamier than that. At least in the chili form, it was.
The way that I had it, it didn't taste like.
were the
anything
ortolan
different
like
than beef.
endangered? Was that part of it?
They were rare. They were relative.
See, okay,
they didn't
I'm
have
not-
the word endangered. Then
I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in anything that's like going to potentially hurt a species. But other than that, if it's all good on how it was procured, I don't care. I'll try
There's
everything.
some meats that I like. The whole. I listened to an episode about insects and bugs.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to be really desperate for protein to want to go into that realm.
I have eaten a cricket.
Sure, I mean everybody
Not
has
like-
a
not like-
lollipop, but I'm talking about like
No, I ate just like it tastes like a corn nut. It was like dried crickets with like salt on them. It was nothing.
I'm talking like sub-Saharan African weird bugs.
Yeah, I
You know
haven't
what
done
mean?
like huge like fresh bugs.
Right.
I don't know about that.
It'd be tough. That's a tough
don't
sell
know
for me.
about
Just even in general, we were talking about like
Mm-hmm.
a shelled insect with all of its legs and everything intact, fresh, with the hard shell, gooey inside. That's a tough
That's the
sell
thing.
for me to make that
No,
transition.
if it was baked into a cake, or if it was like in a smoothie, because I mean that was a thing.
Yeah,
That's a thing.
no. Dried is like it's just crunch. There's no liquid in it. There's no
It's the
gooey center.
It's the gooey center that really.
It is
can't wrap
it's
my
too
brain
easy
around.
to produce plant-based proteins for me to really want to go into the realm of insects.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. And I mean, I will also say that when eating a cricket, you can definitely at some point you feel like there is like a bug's leg in your mouth. You know what I mean? Like texturally, it's
Spoiler alert, there is.
yeah, no, but but like you know it. You're very aware of it. And like there is a texture thing.
You
that
need a toothpick
some
to get
people,
that toothpick
yeah,
out,
some
yeah.
people. I can see that not being a pleasant experience.
I mean, but
But other than that,
This may make no sense, but I think I could do the ortolan, but not do the sea turtle, and I don't know why. Like there's like this. I don't know. I don't know how to explain.
ortolan just sounds like
It's just
lavish.
okay, here's the thing.
honestly, if it's just a bird and it's fine, like I don't like it's fine.
I've
I
eaten
don't care.
many birds, just because it's a smaller sized bird doesn't bother me.
You're missing the cultural context. We're talking about within 30 years of the French Revolution. They took all the aristocracy. They killed them.
I'm not taking the cultural.
That was literally the only reason why it was taboo.
My
Oh
thing.
yeah,
with
if that's
like,
the only reason, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if it's like an adult bird or whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a total non-issue.
What about veal?
I've eaten veal before, and I'm not crazy about it knowing what it is.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I ate it all the time with my family and stuff, and then I found out what it was because I went to Argentina hunting,
Oh yeah,
and I saw them, and literally it was cows
Chained to the
that were
ground.
chained to the ground so they couldn't walk, so they couldn't get exercise and get strong muscles. And I'm like, what's that? Like, oh, that's gonna be veal. I'm like, wait, those baby cows are gonna be veal?
I don't like the way
make sense
veal is
to me.
typically prepared in Italian dishes, personally. Highly seasoned, real thin slices. To me, it's more about how it's used than it is.
To me, there's a diminishing return to whether or not, if it was like the most amazing tasting thing in the world, sure. But it's not. It's not that much better than a freaking awesome ribeye. I love a ribeye.
Yeah, I do too.
It's just different. I would say it's just
It's
different.
different. And the same thing with like even abalone. They were talking about that with Roosevelt.
Yeah.
And like if it's so hard to find, so special and stuff but it tastes like a clam mixed with an oyster, who cares?
But it's a snail.
Yeah, but you really want the garlic taste.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't get it. There's certain
Right.
things
People
it's
who have had it and objectively look at it without all of the pomp and circumstance around it, they say it's not that impressive. And I think that's really what it comes down to. The majority of
Exactly.
exclusive foods, when you get down to it, they're not that much different than the everyday foods. It's all the circus that goes on around it that makes them what they are.
Sure.
I mean, if I was on a pirate ship, would I eat a turtle? Dang sure I would. I would eat that.
Florida man with a patch on his eye eating some
Yep.
turtle.
Eat some turtles.
You know that.
Yep.
But, I mean, just eat it at a restaurant? I don't think so. I think that would kind of throw me off. Because it just, to me, I think there's a little bit of sport that has to go into, I guess.
You're saying there's no sport
don't
in
know.
tracking down an animal that moves at a half a mile an hour?
It's the sea turtle that it seems like, I don't know, it just seems too easy. And it's like, I guess you could say the same thing with cattle and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
we go to the
I guess my
supermarket and we
argument-
pick up a package
I
that's
guess
already
my
been pre-cut.
argument is kind of destroyed at the same time as I'm saying it. But-
Decimated, maybe?
Decimated. There you go.
Decimated. Callback.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, maybe my arguments aren't logical, but I think sea turtle is the one that I had an issue with wrapping my mind around.
Yeah, I mean, if none of them are like endangered and it's all procured in the right way, I'll try whatever once. But yeah, I really enjoyed this show. I just kind of stumbled on it and I learned a ton. And I was like, I definitely need to bring this to our show because I was hoping you guys would enjoy learning about foods.
I certainly enjoyed it. Yep.
I listened to, I think, 4 episodes or 3.5. I was halfway through the next one.
So I would like to recommend the show for next time. And it is called 1619. It is a show produced by the New York Times that outlines the impact that, and it's kind of a tough thing, but I feel like you have to explore tough things sometimes. And it's Black History Month, and I feel like sometimes you have to explore tough topics. And this is talking about how African Americans and then in the future just Black Americans would impact so much what America has become. And it comes from a very personal place, and it's just an incredible show. I don't even know if I want to pick a specific episode to talk about. There's only 5 episodes total in the miniseries, and it is really, really great. And you will learn a lot about just general impact that a terrible thing had on making this country great. And so it's kind of a tough thing to talk about, but it was an incredible podcast to listen to.
Interesting.
All right, so
And a
1619.
controversial topic, too.
Yeah. I didn't really feel like it was controversial, but it was really good. But I feel like at some level you have to address the things that are bad if you want to make them better. You see what I mean? You have to address
See,
the
we've talked
negative
about
things.
this in the past about like whitewashing stuff to where act like it didn't happen.
pretend
and then
that
you don't,
bad things didn't
you don't
happen.
Super
learn,
dangerous,
You
yeah.
don't learn from the past if you erase the past.
Yeah.
And you don't teach I've talked to my kids. I've literally talked to my kids about this. I'm like, are you learning about this at school?
And they're not a lot of times. That's not to say you need to keep statues up that represent figures who are who celebrated or fought for things that we're against now. But you know what I mean? I feel like they rewrite history books to leave out a lot of the bad that happened, and it ends up getting repeated over and over and over again. So I think you're absolutely right.
Sometimes you got to face the music, and there's some elements of history that are unpleasant across, and that's not just American. That's life.
Yeah,
it's just life. And remember,
there's always more to discover.
Thank you for listening to the Podcast Discovery Show. We have a few things we'd like to tell you. First, we would love to hear from you on Twitter at the PDS Official or in our Facebook group, the Podcast Discovery Club.
Secondly, leaving a rating or review on iTunes helps tremendously in giving us visibility and also visibility to the podcast that we recommend. You can also check out our Patreon page to get exclusive bloopers, old episode archives, and other exclusive content while supporting the show.
Finally, seriously, get in touch. We'd love to hear from you about what you love about podcasts. And thank you for being a part of all of the things that we do.
This was a podcast from the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.